How's it going? It's Keith here, and welcome back to another episode of The Tattooed Dad. On this week's episode, I'm going to be showing you how I make my amazingly incredible banana pancakes. This is something my kids love. They ask for it every weekend, and I really enjoy making it. I'm a big breakfast guy. I love breakfast, and it's really, the way I'm going to show you the recipe, it's super simple, it's super easy, and it tastes amazing. Your family will love them. A lot of people ask me for this recipe, and it's a recipe that I've come up with myself, and so it's really hard to pass on a recipe when I don't tend to measure any of the ingredients. I just kind of eyeball it, and I know what it needs, but this time I'm gonna slow it down. I'm gonna measure everything. I'm gonna explain to you how it's done, and we'll go from there. But the first thing I need you guys to do is go into your pantry, your cabinets, pull out your box pancake mix and pull that out. Let's get that ready, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw that shit away. Just chuck it right in the garbage. That stuff is full of all kinds of weird ingredients that you're giving to your kids. If you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't be giving it to your kids, let alone eating it yourself. Let's look at some of these ingredients. We've got thiamine. I don't know what that is. Mononitrate? What? Riboflavin? Potassium bicarbonate. Look, if you can't go outside and pull some potassium bicarbonate off your potassium bicarbonate plant, you shouldn't be putting that crap in your body. I don't know what it is. For all I know, it's the souls of kittens, and nobody wants to give their kids the souls of kittens, especially for breakfast. That's horrible. So throw all that box crap away. I'm going to show you a recipe that's super easy, and you can make it in bulk. You can make it before you go camping and take it with you, and then all you add is the liquids, the milk, the eggs, and stuff like that. So let's throw all that stuff away. We're going to build stuff from scratch from now on, and your kids will love you for it, and you'll love them. Man, if you don't love them, then you should probably put them up for adoption. All right, so the first step we do, we go out, we get some flour. Any old flour works. Baker's flour works the best. And I'm going to do, this recipe here I do is for a family of 4, and you always have a little bit of leftovers. It's easy. If you have more people, then you can just easily double it. Anyways, so what I do here, we're going to go with a cup of flour. And a big mistake a lot of people make when they're putting in the flour is they always pack it in. And that's not how flour should be. You should never just pack it in like that, because it gives you more flour than you need, and you're gonna turn out with dry pancakes, turn out with dry cookies, and that's never good. So let's get that out of the way. I always make a mess. Pardon me while I clean that up. All right, next ingredient I'm gonna add is some baker's sugar. Now, being that these are banana pancakes and there's gonna be some baker's sugar and some brown sugar in it, you don't need a ton of sugar. Plus the bananas add some sweetness to it, so don't go overboard on the sugar. As you see here, I use maybe a quarter of a cup of sugar, you know, and you can adjust that by however you like. But let's start with that. We'll start with a quarter cup of sugar. Get that in there. A pinch of salt. That's too much. Go with a pinch of salt, right there. Okay, throw that in there. And 1 teaspoon of baking powder, okay? I use baking powder, not baking soda. Just how my recipes worked out. It's come out and they seem to be a smoother pancake when I use the baking powder. All right, cinnamon is definitely one of these, it has to be to taste. You can go way overboard on the cinnamon and they're not gonna taste that good, so go conservative on the cinnamon. I'm gonna start here with a little less than a ½ teaspoon of cinnamon. Any old cinnamon works. Use whatever you got in your cabinet. And then the brown sugar, we're going to use about 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Not packed, just kind of loosely put it in there. Okay. Clean up as we go. Tip for you dads out there who maybe aren't that familiar around the kitchen. When you buy a bag of brown sugar, take a piece of bread and stick a piece of bread in there, because the bread's gonna absorb the moisture inside the bag and cause your brown sugar from getting super hard. Brown sugar absorbs moisture and it'll turn as hard as a brick and it's useless. And the one time you need brown sugar, your brown sugar is ruined in a cabinet because it's hard as a rock. So put a piece of bread in there, it'll save you down the road. All right, I got all my dry ingredients in the bowl, and I'm gonna go ahead and mix those up first. You wanna make sure all your dry ingredients are nice and mixed up before you add any of the liquid ingredients. And this just evens everything out. And we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna add in some milk. I just use some organic 2%, and I start with 1/2 cup, okay? And you want to mix it in, starting at the center and kind of working your way out. Okay, that's not going to be enough, so we'll add another 1/2 cup. And at this point, it's going to be kind of a thick consistency, okay? But what you want to do is you want to mix it nice and good, so that way there's no big lumps. You're going to have some small lumps, and that's okay, because they'll dissolve, but no big lumps, okay, at this point. All right, the next ingredient we're going to add is going to be olive oil. Now, olive oil is something I'm not going to measure out. This is going to be just however much you want. The more olive oil you add, the crispier the outside of the pancakes are gonna be, okay? So it's up to you. I love olive oil. I put olive oil in everything. I don't use canola oil. I use olive oil. It's better for you. It's not engineered, and it works out good, and it doesn't give it a weird taste. So I just like to pour some olive oil in, okay? It's probably about 3 tablespoons of olive oil, okay? Let's mix that in. Next, we need to add in 1 egg. Get that mixed in. Now we're going to add in the vanilla. I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Right there. And any vanilla you got works. I have organic Madagascar vanilla, and it's just the vanilla that I prefer to use in mine. We're going to get that mixed in. All right, now that's all of our liquid ingredients. So liquid ingredients are milk, egg, vanilla, and now we add our banana. Secret on the bananas is that the browner they are on the outside, the skins, the peel, whatever you want to call it, the sweeter the banana is going to be, and the easier it's going to be to mix in. I like to use 2 bananas in my recipe just because I like bananas, and I like the taste of it, and the more fruit I can incorporate into a breakfast, the better. So just go ahead and chop these bananas up. In here, they don't need to be perfect. When we mix these up, I just kind of smash the bananas down. At first, this kind of breaks them up and smushes them a little bit, makes them easier for me when I go to actually mix them in. And these can be as chunky or as smooth as you want them to be. I prefer them to be a little bit chunky for myself. So we got these mixed in. While we're waiting on that, I'll let that sit for a second. We want to set our cooktop to 350 degrees. Okay, we got that going. And that's where I found you get the best consistency on heat. If you're not using a cooktop, your stove will work just fine. My kids all like to eat at the exact same time, and so cooktop works best for me. I think that's mixed up pretty good. And you can see it's pretty chunky. All right, while that's warming up, we're gonna go ahead and pour our pancakes into my pancake dispenser. All right, what you thinking, Keith? Why don't you just pour them straight out of the mixing jar? Well, because my fiance got me this, and I enjoy it. It works. This seems to always cause a mess. All right, that's nice and warm. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna put on our pancakes. My cooktop holds roughly 6 pancakes each. Sometimes the bananas get stuck in the hole. All right, we're gonna let these bake. You'll see them start getting a lot of bubbles around the edges, and that's probably about time to check them. You can check them before you flip them over, but don't keep checking them. Let them cook. They gotta cook through the bananas that are inside of them. Kind of make it take a little bit longer to cook all the way through, and you wanna make sure it's cooked through because you don't wanna give your kids half-cooked banana pancakes, and you don't want to eat half-cooked banana pancakes. So let them cook. They'll be just fine. If you notice, I didn't spray any non-stick spray on the surface itself. It acts as a heat sink, and it's going to make your pancakes turn out white on one side, and it's not going to let them get that golden color. So I don't spray anything on there. I don't have issues with sticking. But if you do have issues with sticking with what you're using, go ahead and spray it. All right, I think these are ready to flip over. You can see it's starting to get some bubbles around the edges. Okay, so we'll flip this over and see what they look like. All right, these pancakes are looking good. They're almost ready. A couple more minutes, we'll get them plated up. They look about done. I'm gonna go ahead and pull them off the griddle and plate them. Typically my kids will eat anywhere from 2 to 3 of these in the morning. And it doesn't make enough. All right, man, these look amazing. I'm gonna add a little bit of butter to them because I can't have pancakes without butter. Now, you can use all sorts of different kinds of syrup. I just use the original syrup. There's the sugar-free that we use sometimes. We also have this Marionberry syrup, which is amazing. But I think it takes away from the flavor of the banana pancakes. So I'm just gonna go with the old-fashioned original syrup. All right, well, there you have it. Homemade banana pancakes from scratch that your family's gonna love and that I'm pretty positive you're gonna love too. You've been making these all the time. So I'm gonna dig in. Those are just amazing. Every time I have them, I fall back in love with them. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. This has been another episode of The Tattooed Dad, and we'll see you guys next week.